part of what makes a man is simply having the self-confidence in himself to do what he needs to do. And having self-confidence comes not from status or materials or anything like that. Sure, achievements could maybe play a part in that, but at the end of the day, what's really going to give you self-confidence is you knowing what you're capable of and knowing what you're not capable of. For women, their self-confidence is determined a little bit differently. Their self-confidence is determined by how many men see them as more or less long-term relationship material women. And the reason for this is because, yeah, you'll see a lot of women that want to be wanted, but that's an ego thing. That's not actual self-confidence. That's that's not even self-validation. It's the need of validation for other people. And so they're requiring self-validation, but they're always seeking it externally. And you want to stay away from women like this, and women that are unlucky as well. I remember working with a woman a couple companies ago, and she was a really hard worker. She was very diligent. She was always looking for me to validate her, though. Always looking for me to validate her. And every step of the way, if something happened that went wrong, she would constantly tell herself how unlucky she is and how unfortunate her life situation is. And I just, man, being around that kind of stuff, it kind of kills your confidence just by being around that kind of energy. And this is one of the reasons why nowadays I have a rule of thumb that I don't really care if we're going to be professional in our relationship and we're going to work together to build something, well then she better be or he better be competent and responsible in how they interact with themselves first and then secondly. Because now I'm okay, obviously, if somebody's gonna, we're all gonna fall short of the glory of God. We're not always gonna be perfect all the time, but that's what we're gonna strive to be. We're gonna strive to be perfect in our imperfectness. And so that's exactly what, if I'm seeing that, I don't have a problem with it. But these kinds of women are going to be very dangerous for you because their lack of self-confidence is, number one, a direct reflection of how they view themselves. And because they don't see themselves as having the ability to keep a man long-term. And a lot of women will, there's probably going to be some pushback and ruffle some feathers here. That's fine. I don't really, that's not my intention. My intention is to give you guys quality information so that you understand how to maneuver more properly, specifically as a man, because this video is aimed more toward men. But women that are unlucky or tell themselves that there's certain things like this that they're never going to really change and whatnot, it's like, because of their unluckiness, you got to be very careful with that. And you've got to be very mindful about these, like, these women say, I always attract toxic relationships. It's like, okay, well, if you haven't healed from your past and you know it, then it's probably you. It's probably you. And you absolutely do not want a woman that has excessive trauma that she has not dealt with. There's a difference between a woman that has maybe had a little bit of trauma, but she's dealt with it to the point to where she can be an asset to you in a relationship. That's different. And usually those kinds of women have specific characteristics that you'll want to look out for, but ultimately it's going to be up to you as a man to ensure that you're vetting these women properly. I have seen so many men, like one of the comments I saw recently, this guy, he was a simp and he didn't even know he was a simp. And he was talking about how, well, if I ask a woman out and she says yes, and then she cancels right before the date, and then we set a new date, and then she cancels again, and then we set a new date and she cancels again, does that count as emotional abuse? And I thought to myself, dude, you should have walked away after that first time. After that first time, you should have walked away. Because we don't give second chances here, okay? It's not like, God gives us multiple chances, sure, but I cannot always give people second chances. And the reason being is because I've given second chances before. And what happens is exactly what this guy kind of did. You know, some people just don't want to change, and that's okay. But especially women that haven't dealt with their stuff, their trauma, if they have any. Ideally, you want a woman that has little to no trauma or toxicity, which I understand is going to be difficult for a lot of men to find nowadays and create something like that. But you've got to be the leaders, and this is on us to create. This is on us as leaders to really manifest the kind of reality we want to see. No more of this, like, oh, is she emotionally abusing me if she keeps playing with my feelings? Hello? Yeah, like, and I'm not trying to degrade this person or anything like that. I'm just saying that, dude, the writing is on the wall. You gotta take that and just go with it and move on. It's no big deal. There's another woman out there that's gonna choose to be loyal to you, that yes, maybe might have some temptations, and even though there's no guarantee that that woman is never gonna cheat or she's never gonna play with your feelings or whatever, there's a woman out there that wants to be loyal. There's a woman out there that wants to have a family. And these kinds of women have very specific traits. They usually don't have tattoos or excessive piercings. They don't usually have male friends. They usually have smaller groups of people that they hang around. They're usually pretty quiet. They don't speak unless they're spoken to usually. And there's going to be certain traits, unless the woman really wants a man, she's not going to go out of her way to ask you out or anything like that. And I understand that there are going to be situations where that's not the case, because I've had women like that, but those are masculine women, and I don't like to be around those kinds of women all the time, because they're always just so contentious, and they're highly industrious, sure, but they're not usually open-minded. They're pretty controlling usually. And it's not even like, because women will say, "Whoa, well, the man's controlling if this." It's like, you got to really look at what the actions are rather than what's being said when it comes to women. So many men have yet to realize that, and it's unfortunate, but that is just the way that it is. We have to look at the actions of these women. If a woman is acting a certain way where it shows that she's playing with your feelings, or she's trying to just like put you on the leash, you know, to kind of reel you in, and then the catch and release kind of a thing, because there are women like that. There are women like that that will just want to see, and they will go to extreme lengths to just try to see if you'll bite the bait, basically. You know, they'll do everything. And so you got to be very mindful of what these women are really after. If you can determine, here's a key for you. If you can determine what the woman wants from you without having to ask her, then you're probably a man that has a lot of inner self-confidence and can see things pretty clearly. Because a man that is not as self-confident is not going to be able to see past the illusion of her beauty. A lot of men will get stuck on this. And I literally had some guy, I'm pretty sure this dude was trolling, reach out to me earlier this week. He literally sent me images of this Instagram woman who was clearly, like, she was wearing a bikini and tight clothes at the gym and whatnot, and like all over her Instagram. And he said that he went over to her house or whatever, he went to talk to her, and he's wondering if she was a godly woman and all that. And I thought to myself, you gotta be kidding, bro. Like, are you trolling me? Because it sure seems like you're trolling me. Because that, no man that has an ounce of spiritual discernment will look at that and be like, well, that could be a wife someday. There's no way. But I think this guy was genuinely asking, which to me was even worse. It's even worse. How could you honestly look at a woman like that and think she's going to be the mother of your children. Hello? Knock, knock, knock. Is anybody there? Loud, boisterous women that lead you to death. That's what they look like. That's what they look like. They need to be seen. They need to be seen by every man. Otherwise, they don't feel alive. Because they can't feel alive without getting a dopamine hit of attention from men. And these are the same kinds of women that will say they don't need a man and all that stuff. But, dude, you got to avoid those kinds of women. Women that are too revealing with their clothes are usually self-conscious, as well as not self-confident. They may walk with an air of confidence. You know, they'll strut their stuff, but that's all they got. They don't have heart. And you want a woman that is going to be able to, obviously she takes care of herself, but she's not showing the world what she's got 24/7. And you men that are constantly rewarding, like there's an OnlyFans woman, her name escapes me right now, but there's an OnlyFans woman that was recently, she tried to do, literally tried to do 1,000 men in a day or whatever. And she only got to 101 or whatever. And that's still 101 guys in one day. And she was bawling afterward. And somehow it's men's fault. Now, I'm not saying that it's just men's fault, or that it's all men's fault and it's none of the women's, or that it's all the women's and none of the man's. It was both of their faults. Who are you men that are standing in line, literally standing in line waiting to screw an online prostitute? You really have nothing better to do with your life. This is the world we live in. It's not just a clown world, it's backwards. It's crazy. It's absolutely nuts. And these simps are literally ruining society. It's not the women all the time that are ruining society, even though, of course, most of the women now are whores. That's just the way that it is. It's because they don't have self-confidence. They don't have self-esteem. And it's because of how men are treating them all the time. They're so entitled, and men are doing it to them. We have to do this as men. If all men in the world were able to switch on the dime tonight, today, and start having a backbone and walking away from women like this, and just walking away from women that disrespect you in general, so many men are being disrespected without even knowing it. That's how brainwashed these men are. And I know what that's like. I know what it's like because I was a simp too. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I was always an alpha male or I was always a godlike savage. Hell no. But I grew out of that in my early mid-20s. Because I started to actually question you know what? This kind of stuff is not working. In fact, I feel worse doing this kind of stuff. I feel worse trying to put women on the pedestal. I feel worse believing women when they say certain things. Because I watch their actions and it doesn't match their words at all. And it's not to say men don't do this sometimes, but men usually match their actions with their words far more than women do. Far more. All of a sudden, when it comes to accountability, women turn into Neo. You know, they're just dodging the bullets of accountability all the time. but men, we don't have the luxury to do that. And all of the men that, I heard about this too. The Haktua lady with her meme coin or whatever. All of the men that bought into it in a day or whatnot, she got it, they got it all up, and then guess what happened? She took all of it. And it's because those guys, I say you get what you deserve when it comes to that kind of stuff, because you literally propped up a woman that got famous off of talking about blowjobs online. You gave money to like, what did you expect was to happen? Again, these women will walk with an air of confidence, but that's not true confidence. That's cockiness. That's pride. And as we all know, in the Bible, it says pride goeth before a fall. So avoid these women that lead you to hell and stay close to who you are and your connection to the Most High God. And golly, I can't believe some of the stories that I've seen. I really cannot believe it. But I hope this message was at least shedding some light on the subject for you, on why you should avoid these kinds of women. And again, I'm just trying to help men avoid women that want to take advantage of them. And there are some women that can call me a bigot or a misogynist for that. And if trying to help men make better decisions makes me a misogynist, then so be it. If trying to bring godly couples together makes me a misogynist, so be it. But with all that being said, if you do want to join a godly community where we are building our minds, bodies, and souls and growing closer to the Most High, talking about this kind of stuff in our calls as well. We have, in the paid community, we have a weekly group call as well as 2 weekly Bible studies now. And we're also going to be starting the Art of War class series. It's going to be a 7-week series that starts December 21st, so next Saturday. And I'm super stoked for that. That's going to be really exciting. And that's in the paid community. We also do have the free Discord available. It just doesn't have as many resources and people that are really dedicated to this kind of stuff and learning more about how to become a better person than the paid community. And I do want to appreciate everybody that's tuning in, just watching the videos in general, and moving from YouTube over to the X and Rumble platform. I appreciate your guys' support. And with all that being said, peace be with you all. Till next time.